What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of UGUE Brothers Vlogs. Guys, I got an exciting one for you. Yes, finally! I know you guys have been asking about this. It's another episode of Savage Kitchen. It's been so long, I feel, since I've made one of these, and I know I get so many messages. When's the next recipe? When's the next video? Well, you know what? I got you covered. I got you covered because I am back. I am back. I am inspired. I am ready to continue the Savage Kitchen series because honestly, it's a lot of fun for me to do, a lot of fun for me to make, and you guys seem to enjoy it. So I'm going to keep doing it. It's pretty awesome. So for this episode, guys, I've got a really exciting one for you. You may have seen the photos already on Instagram, but this is jerk chicken tacos with mango salsa and cilantro lime Greek yogurt dressing. Whew, that's a lot of words, but trust me, guys, this recipe is affordable, it is easy, and it is freaking delicious. And as an added bonus, guys, this is a perfect recipe if you are like me and you're trying to lose weight, trying to get crazy in the gym. It is awesome. And honestly, the only caveat to this particular recipe, well, actually, there's two. One, I'm not a pescatarian, a vegan, or vegetarian, but I know a lot of you guys are. So if you do not want the chicken, you can easily switch it out for tofu or tempeh. Very simply can do that. No problem. All right. It's probably a lot faster and maybe even a little bit healthy for you, but it'll be just as freaking delicious. Trust me. And two, this is a jerk chicken recipe, so it is spicy. I'll go over some things you might be able to do to improve on that if you're not keen on spice. Once I go over the recipe here in a second, but trust me, even if you do not like spicy, this recipe is banging fire delicious. It is so freaking good. And guys, oh my gosh, is it cost effective? I mean, it is so easy to get. All the ingredients are readily available. I'm pretty sure most people will be able to make this no problem. And of course, I used the Ninja Foodi to cook my chicken. You do not have to. You can actually do this just on the stovetop if you prefer. You do not have a Ninja Foodi. Ninja Foodi is just one of those things that makes life freaking easy. If you don't have one, guys, you gotta invest. You gotta invest. The Ninja Foodi has changed my life. It is just, I wish it would sponsor me because I freaking love the thing. Freaking Ninja Foodi, man. I just wish I had the bigger one. I had the smaller one because I didn't know. I wish I had the bigger one because I'd use it even more. But this thing replaces your oven, your stove, your microwave. It replaces everything, guys. You can do anything. You can bake in it. I'm getting off on a tangent because I got on this whole foodie train. But guys, check it out. I'm sure there's gonna be some deals out there during the holiday season. If you're interested in something freaking awesome, especially if you burn water. The Foodi is for you. Trust me, it makes life easy and you can cook for your whole family in like 20, 30, 40 minutes, no problem. I mean, seriously, guys, I know not everybody's busy right now because everything, but you know, when we do get back to regular life, most people have to work all the time. You don't have a lot of time. That's what everybody complains about, right? This will save you a lot of time. It's also a slow cooker too, so it'll replace that too. I mean, geez, I went way off on a tangent. I got myself so distracted because I freaking love the Foodi so much. Let me get to the freaking recipe. Anyway, guys, jerk chicken tacos. Now, I went with jerk. I went with Jamaican jerk chicken. There's tons of ways to do this. Tons of them. Like, I honestly, at first, I was just going to buy a jerk seasoning. I couldn't find one. So out of necessity, I just had to make my own. And actually, it's freaking easy. The seasonings are easy to get and they're cheap. It's stuff that you can just keep in your house. It's super easy to make. But I use Jamaican jerk seasoning. There's tons of them. You can get Caribbean. There's all kinds of different individual mixes that you can find. But it is, oh my God, it's delicious. If you never had jerk chicken, it's worth just trying it. because it's banging delicious. It is so freaking good. It's something that we do have here in Florida and a lot of different places. I've had it before. I just don't have it very often. And for some reason, I just happened to find this recipe and I'm like, you know what? I want some freaking jerk chicken. It's been ages since I've had it and I want to see if I can't do it, you know? Plus it was a Foodi recipe, so of course, for me. Anyway, guys, without further ado, let me just get into this freaking recipe so I can tell you how to make it and you guys can try it and just enjoy it and, like, you know, serve it to your family and have them love you for the rest of your life. I'm sure they will anyway, but just, you know, just to make sure you just, you know, give them some delicious food and they'll love you forever. Trust me. Trust me. All right, guys. So first things first, we're going to go over the actual jerk chicken or jerk seasoning blend. Like I said, you can easily just purchase one if you really don't have time or you don't feel comfortable. You can purchase one in the store. You can find them. I didn't spend a ton of time looking for it, but my particular store, I just couldn't find it. But you can find them. I've seen them. They are there. You can easily buy a pre-mixed jerk chicken blend. That's not a big deal. But to be honest with you, for better flavor and more control, I would suggest actually pre-mixing yours with your own seasoning, especially if you're not really into a lot of spicy stuff, you don't like certain seasonings. It's just so much better to pre-mix your stuff, and it's actually really inexpensive. It's fairly straightforward. I will leave the actual ingredients with amounts in the description box below so you can follow just sort of base level Jamaican jerk seasoning mixture. Now, I didn't mess with it. I also did a lot more chicken. Now, this particular recipe calls for about 1 pound. I did about 4 pounds. So I just mess with a lot of things. You don't necessarily have to follow mine. This is why you kind of see that what I'm mixing in terms of amounts is slightly different than what's actually going to be in the description box, because I'd already made this recipe before, the day before, like a couple days before, just to kind of test it out. And I decided to change some things. Now, what I actually use some garlic powder, chipotle chili seasoning, allspice, which you can actually use regular allspice. I found actually a Jamaican allspice, so I use Jamaican allspice, smoked paprika, dried thyme, red pepper flakes, and cayenne pepper. All right, now that may seem like a lot of freaking spice to you, so if you're not really interested in heavy spice, you can actually cut it with sugar, actually. If you cut it with sugar, I would suggest, before you do anything, like you'll see in this video, actually use like a glass container with a top on it, because for one, you're actually going to be making way more than you actually need. You're only going to use roughly 2 tablespoons for 1 pound of chicken, and you're going to be making way more than that. So make sure you do either put this in a larger container to mix it or transfer it into an airtight container for later use, unless you're going to use it real fast. But anyway, make sure you always taste your seasoning mixes. Always taste your seasoning mixes, because some people don't like certain spices. They never had certain spices. They like different blends of certain spices. So make sure you always taste them. If it's too spicy for you, you can cut it with sugar. If you just know certain seasonings and it's too much heat for you, you can reduce the amounts accordingly as well, of course. You can also add some other things. The recipe that I'll put in the description box is actually just a base level seasoning. It does call for some things that I use in here, or doesn't call for things that I decided to use in this. It also calls for things that I just didn't use in this, but you, like I said, you can cut it with sugar. It's just an easy way to sort of calm the spice down. But keep in mind, when you cook this, it's going to be dispersed all over the chicken. So it's really not all that spicy. Most of the spice is going to come as a mixture of that as well as other things. But also, if you really do like spicy, you can add a lot more. Like Joe really loves spice, so I make sure I do like really kick it up. I'm not overly fond of super hot, unless it just tastes good, because of course flavor balance is really important when you're dealing with spicy foods, because I'm just not one of those people that are obsessed with like super hot. But this particular recipe is fairly mild. I mean, fairly mild for someone who just likes really hot sauces and stuff like that. But you can, like I said, you can make some adjustments accordingly. Just don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to make some adjustments, change the seasonings out. It's absolutely okay. That's exactly what I do. In fact, I actually already did this recipe previously, decided to change some things, and then while I was mixing it, I ended up changing more things. So it's just the way it goes. That's part of the fun of actually getting involved and actually cooking in the kitchen. Is you experiment, you combine different flavors, combine different foods, different textures, etc. And it's just awesome. It's just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. But like I said, I'll put that general recipe at the bottom as well as all the rest of the stuff down in the description box. I know I haven't done that in the past, and you guys have given me a lot of feedback about that. So I'll make sure it's down there as well. Next thing you are going to want to do is go ahead and set that aside and get your chicken. Now, you are going to need about a pound of chicken breast. Make sure you do pat dry and cut any like crazy fat off. If you don't care about that, just leave it. It's not that big a deal, but trim it if you need to. You can get sort of any kind of chicken you want. You can get whole chicken breast, but keep in mind you will need to cut it down. What I use is actually chicken cutlets. But like I said, you can just get a full chicken breast and just slice them into thin actual slices and then cut them lengthwise from there. But for me, it just saved me a ton more time just to go ahead and get chicken cutlets and get them just to save a little money. Of course, I went to Publix, so obviously it's just gonna be a lot more expensive, but you can go to Sam's, Costco, any kind of stores you guys enjoy for like more budget friendly, even going to a local butcher, etc. And if you go to a butcher, they may even just do it for you. I don't know. I don't have one in my area, and that the Publix is just closer to me. So just for convenience sake, I ran there real quick to get these ingredients. But you can actually save a ton of money with the chicken. Of anything in this recipe, that is the most expensive thing you're gonna have in this is the chicken. All right. Once you cut the chicken, put it in a large bowl. Again, you'll see a lot more chicken that's what actually in your recipe, because the recipe itself calls for about a pound. I wanted some leftovers and things for a couple more days for meals and lunches and things like that. So I did about 4 pounds. So it's a lot more chicken, and set that aside. I went ahead and covered mine and put it in the fridge just to leave it. And I went ahead and prepped what's actually going to go in there with the jerk seasoning. Now, you do not have to do this. It is in the recipe, but you don't have to do this, especially if you don't want it as spicy. First things first is I took actually several cloves of garlic. I used a ton of garlic because I love it. You don't have to use garlic at all if you don't want to, or you can use less of it. Doesn't really matter. And I left mine kind of chunkier because they ended up getting like kind of crispy in the Ninja Foodi, and I like that a lot. So you're just going to go ahead and break that down. I use fresh garlic. To save some time, you can go ahead and use garlic that you just find in the bottles at the store if you want to. I find it just doesn't taste as good, of course, so I just used fresh garlic, and I had some in the fridge, so I just took it out. So just crush it, chop it up. Doesn't need to be too fine, as fine as you really want it. Doesn't really matter. And I used several cloves of that. Next, you want to go ahead and use your peppers. Recipe calls for 2 jalapeno peppers. I actually opted for something a little different just because I wanted to try some things and experiment. So I actually used 1 whole jalapeno, and I used 1 whole habanero pepper. Now, you'll see in the video, I'm not wearing gloves. That's not advisable. If you're going to cut these peppers, make sure you either wash your hands incredibly well, or you use gloves. Ideally use gloves, because to be honest with you, if you don't wash your hands and you touch your face or you I don't know, you sensitive bits, you're gonna regret it. Trust me, I made that mistake like last year when I was doing like a HelloFresh recipe with like a poblano pepper. I touched my contact and it messed me up for days. So just be very, very careful, especially with habanero. Jalapeno is not so bad, but habanero for sure, and anything hotter than that. If you so choose to mix other things like chili peppers or ghost peppers or whatever craziness you want to add into it, based on what you like, I just used 1 jalapeno and 1 habanero pepper. Chop it real fine. I left the seeds with the jalapeno. I took the seeds out for the habanero pepper. I didn't mess around with that. I took the seeds out for the habanero pepper. Just cut it real fine. Chop it up real fine. Once you do that, put the entire the entire mix of your garlic and your peppers into the chicken, and then you're going to use about 2 tablespoons probably per pound of chicken, give or take. If you want a little more, you can put a little more. You want a little less, you can put a little less. Doesn't matter. No rules. Just, you don't want to overdo it and you don't want to underdo it. So just kind of keep it at a happy minimum, at least 2 tablespoons, somewhere around there per pound. A little more, a little less, doesn't really matter. Just kind of experiment on your own. And just get a spoon, just mix it up really, really good. Now for the best flavor, you could do what I did, which is while I was prepping everything else, I basically sealed that up and I put it in the fridge. Took me with all the shots and moving cameras and worrying about lighting and then checking recipes and things, about a half an hour at least. I would recommend 15 minutes to a half an hour soaked in that. You want even more flavor, the longer the better. You can leave it in there overnight if you want to kind of marinate and soak up all that goody, spicy goodness. It doesn't really matter. If you don't have a lot of time, 15 minutes to half an hour is fine. That gives you enough time to prep everything else you need, make the other things, and get everything else ready, including prepping your Ninja Foodi to cook the chicken. So perfect amount of time. Amazing flavor. The first time I made it, I did not leave it in as long, but it was still really good. I left it in about a half an hour this time, and it was so much better. So trust me, leave it in there, be patient, get everything else ready, do everything else, and let that stuff marinate. All right, guys, so now that it's marinating, we can get everything else ready. All the accoutrement, all the juicy stuff is going to go on top of that delicious jerk chicken when it's done. So I went ahead and went with a mango sauce. So the actual original recipe is really just to put your mango on the taco, which is actually really good. I mean, if you've never done that, it's really freaking delicious. But I wanted to do more than that. I mean, this is Savage Kitchen. You can't just leave things as they are. So I actually decided to make a fresh mango salsa. And salsa is actually fairly straightforward to make. A few different ingredients. It's really up to you how you like to make it. You can make it watery. You can make it chunky. You can make, there's all kinds of things. You can pick all kinds of stuff to put in it, and it's really freaking good. What's funny is actually, I made it because I picked a lot of things for a lot of different colors and textures and layers, and it actually ended up looking like a salad. So when I posted the picture on social media, a lot of people thought I just made some kind of salad. Which actually, you know what? It'd probably be really good as just a salad, to be honest with you. But I don't know. I digress. So I decided to go with a very simple salsa mix. I just used lime juice, an onion, a tomato, and of course the mango. So basically all I did was I took a red onion, which I chose red onion mostly for one, I like red onions and I use them a lot in my recipes. You've probably seen that before. But I love the colors within the red onion, especially in something like this, which is like a salsa where you can see it, and just having all those different color layers and texture layers is just really awesome to me. So I just went with just a medium to large size red onion. You could do more, you could do less, doesn't really matter. You can even choose whatever onion you like or prefer. It doesn't really matter, because again, this salsas have a lot to do with just kind of what you like in terms of texture and flavors and everything else. But this color really balanced everything out. Then you're gonna take just a decent sized mango, peel it, slice it, cut it up into little cubes. I chose to leave this fairly chunky. That's really how I like my salsas, but again, you don't have to. You can puree them, you can mince them fine, you can make it even more liquidy. Once you do that, just take a decent sized tomato, whatever tomatoes you really like, or you can leave them out. It doesn't really matter. If you don't like tomatoes, that's cool too. I just took a standard vine ripe, no big deal, tomato, sliced it up, cut it into cubes, and put that in there. Now make sure your knife is really sharp when you do this, otherwise you will smush it. You'll smush it, you'll squish it, and it just won't be as nice. I mean, it still tastes good, but it just won't be near as nice. Just make sure your knife's really sharp before you cut a tomato, a mater. Next, you're going to take some fresh cilantro. Easiest way to chop this up is actually to fold it and give it a twist and then mince it from there. It's the easiest way to do it. I mean, you could do it a lot of different ways, but that is the absolute easiest. I actually got that from like a Gordon Ramsay episode at some point, and it freaking works, and I just done it ever since. Layer that up in a good sized bowl, and then just pour a bunch of lime juice in it. and which is going to do a couple things. It's going to add a little liquid to the mix, which is nice. It's going to add a little flavor. It's also going to keep your vegetables and your fruits actually from browning if you store it for a little bit. So even if you have some extras, it'll stay fresher. It's kind of nice. Now, I didn't put a ton. You could put more. Doesn't really matter. And just give it a nice solid mix. Once you do that, set that aside, and we can start on the topping, which is a Greek yogurt topping. I chose Too Good. Too Good is a brand that I have in my store that's actually 90 calories per 3/4 cup. And for Greek yogurt, that's really, really low. It's got really good macros as well. It's just that kind of a healthy version of Greek yogurt. You could use sour cream. You can use non-dairy. You can use regular Greek yogurt. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. I just chose Too Good Greek yogurt, and it's actually really, really delicious. Tastes just the same, but it's just less calories, so better for you. Then you can put a little lime juice in that, and then some fresh cilantro in that. Give it a nice stir. That's all you got to do. No big deal. And set that aside. Again, that is to taste, so make sure you taste it. You want to add more cilantro, add more lime juice, doesn't matter. Just, experiment around with it. And of course, I used a bottle lime juice. You can use a regular lime, doesn't really matter. I just figured it was easier to get lime juice in a bottle at my store. Next, you're going to put that aside, get your Ninja Foodi ready to go. Set that to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I always try to preheat mine whenever I'm going to use the Tender Crisp basket. Same goes for a hot pot. Wrong thing. The Instapot as well, or any kind of air fryer. Just, it helps. Make sure you have about a tablespoon or two in your chicken per pound. Give it a nice solid mix, and preheat your Foodi for probably about anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes just to get nice and hot. I use some non-stick 0-calorie spray in mine before I put it in, just to help with the oil and stuff, to make sure it doesn't stick. Now, for a pound of chicken, or around a pound of chicken, you're going to do it for about 8 minutes, and then open it up. Just give it a nice stir, and then close it again for another 6 minutes. Now, I did about 4 pounds, somewhere around there. It took about half an hour. I do have the smaller Foodi as well, so it took about half an hour. So I did it. I stirred it at 15 and let it cook for another 15, and it was absolutely perfect. Once you do that, give it a nice stir, and you're ready to build. You're ready to build your tacos. So you just, obviously, like any other taco situation, you set up your little taco building area. Pro tip: you can just put a nice little wet towel over a stack of those tortillas, put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds, and it makes it really nice. Of course, you can always toast them and things like that. You don't even have to use tortillas. You can use wraps, low-calorie wraps, if that's something you desire. You can make a sandwich. Doesn't really matter. I actually put mine on a bed of spinach. I made a salad out of it. So get creative. But now I did test this out. I did test the taco. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to make sure it was safe for Joe, because I care. He's my brother, I need to make sure it's safe for him to eat first. So I had to make me a taco and make sure it was all safe, But it's, first of all, it's beautiful. And I went with like the smaller tortillas because I just like them better. And I chose flour because I think the flour tortillas, normally I don't really like those as much. But they really went well with the jerk chicken recipe for some reason. They did go pretty well. And they're typically cheaper. But you don't, like I said, you do not have to. You can make wraps out of this. You can make sandwiches out of this. You can make salads out of this. Or you can do your tacos. So basically just a layer of chicken, layer of salsa, layer of the topping, sprinkle little bits of cheese on there just for some added lovin's. Fold that bad boy up, and boom. Bob's your uncle. This recipe is so freaking good. So freaking good, man. Textures, flavors, and just the sweetness of that salsa balances so well with the coolness of the topping and the spiciness of that chicken that it's so freaking balanced. Even if you're not a fan of spicy stuff, like I'm not a huge fan of spicy stuff, you would like this. Although if you don't have a high tolerance, you may want to back it up on the spice area, obviously, but this thing is so good, and it's way inexpensive. It's way inexpensive and easy to do. And this is actually how I eat, regularly. So I'm losing weight. Like, I know somebody mentioned that they gain weight just looking at it. It looks like that, doesn't it? It looks like something that would be crazy, not good for you, but it's great. It's fairly low calorie, over like balanced meal, easy to make, very inexpensive, and freaking, you know, it's freaking fantastic. It's like restaurant quality flavor profile that if you got this at a restaurant, you'd be spending way more money, get less, and be worse for you. Just, you know, that's the whole reason why it's so important, especially these days where you can't even really go to restaurants in most places, to learn this stuff. And something like the Ninja Foodi would help a lot in those situations. But like I said, you could do this on the stovetop. You don't even need a Foodi. It actually is faster. It may not necessarily taste near as good, but like we're talking like tiny percentage points compared to the Foodi. But man, this thing's good. It is so freaking delicious. Guys, try this recipe. Try this recipe. Try this recipe. All right, guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried something a little bit different for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section. You know, I just kind of wanted to experiment with different ways to make this video, so I tried something different. If you enjoyed it, I'll keep doing it. Try to, you know, I'll keep doing it this way, or I'll go back to the way I was doing it. I don't know. Just let me know what you think. Comment, like, and hit that thumbs up button, please. I really appreciate it. That helps us out immensely. Guys, tons of new stuff coming up on both channels. I know it's been a while since I put anything out on this channel, but I'm back in it. I'm back in it, ready to go. I'm working on an editing PC now so I can churn and burn out some more content on this channel faster. Working on a lot of different things. We're traveling more. We're doing tons of cool stuff. If you're interested in joining our Patreon and our memberships, check those things out. I've got videos talking about them, what you might get. We are working to do even more stuff on that in terms of like merchandising and stuff like that. So tons of cool stuff coming down the pipeline there. Other than that, you know, stay tuned because tons of new stuff is coming out. Thanks so much for all of the support, guys. Without you guys, I can't continue to do what I love to do, which is content creating. And God, this is the best job in the world. I love doing this. This is awesome. And it's because of you guys. So thanks so much. Thanks so much for supporting us. Of course, as always, stay strong, stay blessed, stay savage.